Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey.
The Amber and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening and welcome. A ton of news to get to. Mainly, pop goes the Walzel. Yes, indeed, pop goes the Walzel, because it turns out that Tim Walz may have been the linchpin to revitalizing the Trump campaign. And it's very hard to follow this entire news cycle because everything is moving so quickly. But after Kamala picked not moderate Josh Shapiro for her running mate, basically all but giving her Pennsylvania, and instead going with Tim Walz, well, things are not going as smoothly for the Harris campaign anymore. Mainly because not the super progressive policies, not the honeymooning in China, not the love from Bernie Sanders and the far progressives, not even the abortion, not the economy, not even the riots in 2020 with Black Lives Matter, but Tim Walz running his own mouth. In fact, and I think this is great, a writer from Red State named Bonchi pointed this out, I'd say probably better than anyone today. The most amazing thing about this election is that we had Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, and then after he basically died, then Kamala had to find someone to run along with her so she could be president, and so she went and found Joe Biden. And the reason that I say that is because it appears that just like Joe Biden has grossly exaggerated and, kind of lied about most of his past, so has Tim Walz. First, that he claimed since the beginning that he retired as a command sergeant major in the Minnesota National Guard.
I'm Tim Walz, and I'm running for Congress in Minnesota's 1st Congressional District. I'm a retired command sergeant major. I spent 24 years in the Army National.
And you could hear that, by the way, that was him knowing very clearly that he was lying. Because now that we've dug into this for a couple of days, not only did he not retire as a command sergeant major, he didn't fulfill the requirements to be secured in that promotion, so they demoted him back down to staff sergeant, to master sergeant, which is nothing small. There's no need to embellish that. Being a master sergeant is perfectly excellent. I was just as terrified of a master sergeant as I think I can only think about one time when I ever actually met a command sergeant major. They're not very common, but there's nothing wrong with being a first sergeant or a master sergeant or sergeant major. Get out of here. But he felt the need to embellish it. And he was called out on it around the country. And then it got really bad because stolen valor is kind of a gross thing. And now the Harris campaign has actually scrubbed that information completely from their website. So, fantastic. Also, he claimed that he carried weapons of war in a war zone. He did not. He was in Italy. I don't know if you guys know this. Italy is not a war zone. He had gone around telling everyone that he was, a big part of supporting everyone in Operation Enduring Freedom and, really making sure that Iraq and Afghanistan were rootin' tootin' ready for shooting. This was him, again, back when he was running for Congress on C-SPAN, the Washington Journal. Check it out.
Military background?
I spent 24 years in the National Guard, some of that full-time. I was an artilleryman. I deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. My battalion provided base security throughout the European theater from Turkey to England in the early stages of the war in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah, they received base security during the early stages of the war, yes. And by the way, there have been outlets now that are trying to go around, like Axios, for example, trying to tacitly, change that they never actually put that he was in Iraq. He was actually in Italy. Just swapping one I word for another. Very embarrassing stuff. And that's not all, boys and girls. Not only has he been caught doing that, but it turns out that his counterpart, the other guy running for vice president, Senator J.D. Vance, who actually did serve in a combat zone, has been calling him out on it and been doing so extremely effectively.
When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful.
And that brings us to the last and the most damning scandal. So the media is trying to report very desperately that Tim Walz retired before he knew his unit was deploying. So actually, even though he retired in March, well, in June, he got there. Those when the orders came in that they were deploying. Guys, that's not how the military works. It's just not. There are these things called alert orders or warning orders, depending on which state National Guard you're in. Warning orders are basically, hey, be ready. Be ready to be deployed. Be ready to go. Be ready to perform some kind of maneuver. These are made so that guys are ready. I know, it's kind of a shocker. And Walz actually had those orders. He knew he was going to be deployed. That's why a lot of the guys that were in his battalion have pointed out quite clearly that he was a coward and that he abandoned them. Their words, not mine. Because people actually from that unit went over and fought in the great sandbox of the Middle East. And Walz was busy running for Congress and, stuffing his pockets. So, by the way, what's my source for that? His press release. His press release says, and I quote, Walz still planning to run for Congress despite possible call to duty in Iraq. He published that on March 17th, 2005. Excuse me, March 20th, 2005. So he was aware there were warning orders in place. He knew he was going to have to probably be deployed. Every single battalion of a National Guard that dealt with artillery or infantry or any kind of alternative security knew they might be deployed. So he's getting called out for this, and he absolutely deserves it. Now, funny thing is, before this entire scandal, the media was trying to talk about Kamala Harris, vice presidential running mate, like this. Some very, very weird racial kumbaya, but like very segregated garbage.
The significance of this man is that he is an older white man in a moment in which the far right is trying to convince white people that the future is treacherous for them, trying to convince men that the future is treacherous for them. And here is an older white man, a coach, a soldier, who is very hard to dismiss as some kind of effete coastal elite, who is telling older folks and white people, you do not need to be afraid of the future. There is joy in the future. There is joy in having your boss be a black woman. There is joy in what is coming.
Wait a second here. Joy in your boss being a black woman. What? Why would you focus on that? I'm going to let you guys know a little bit of a secret. There was a time when my boss was indeed a black woman. And you know what? That had nothing to do with whether I liked her or didn't like her. I did like her. Wonderful, caring person. Good at her job. Had nothing to do with the color of her skin or what was in her pants. And that's why, until this day, I don't think I've ever actually said I've had a boss who was a black woman, because that shouldn't matter. But the left thinks that's, the appeal. Oh, Tim Walz is showing everyone that you too can have a black woman vice president and president. Oh, so amazing. Well, now, due to this major scandal, the media is finally being forced to ask questions. Yes, indeed. Ask questions to Kamala Harris. Look, today, the very, very first question Kamala has been asked about her vice president's stolen valor scandal, and, she literally refuses to answer it.
Some of the criticism has been about your vice presidential pick and his leading the National Guard at 24 years. Vance said that he's deserted his own troops, deserted his own colleagues. What's your take on that?
Listen, I praise anyone who has defended themselves to serve our country, and I think that we all should.
So I know that was a little bit difficult to hear because I don't know what it is with politicians and answering questions right outside of airplanes. But Kamala Harris refused outright to answer any question about that. I believe him, we all should, kind of a thing. Great. Excellent. Yeah, that's not going to stick. Now the media is trying in response to trash J.D. Vance for his time as a Marine, which is just a wild move.
I also think that J.D. Vance as a messenger on this may be an imperfect messenger, because we have, as you introduced him, as a combat correspondent, which was what his title was. But when you dig a little deeper into that, he was a public affairs specialist, someone who did not see combat, which certainly the title combat correspondent kind of gives you a different impression. So he may be the imperfect messenger on that.
So she's throwing a fit because he was the guy in the unit in the Marines who was supposed to talk to the media when they had questions. I don't know if you know this, in the last 50 years, a lot of military units have had to babysit journalists and cameramen following them around. And so there are press correspondents and individuals who are tasked with keeping those media safe and talking to the media. That does not mean they're not in a combat zone. All the way into the green zone, throughout the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, there was substantial threat to all in all areas. And by the way, you know why this isn't even an issue? J.D. Vance has never claimed to be some kind of fancy war hero. But, well, Mr. Super Command Sergeant Major Ultra Gunnery Super Duper Colonel Officer Man likes to have claimed so. So, by the way, finally, Trump is taking advantage of this. So he went after Walz and Harris on policy, that being abortion, the economy, crime, and immigration, today at a news conference outside of Mar-a-Lago. And he, by the way, smacked the media pretty substantially when they tried challenging him on why he was holding a press conference.
Okay. Mr. President, you have not had a public campaign event for nearly a week now. Tomorrow you'll be in Montana, which is not a swing state. Some of your allies have expressed concern that you're not taking this race seriously, particularly at a time where there is enthusiasm on the other side. Why haven't you been campaigning this week?
Because I'm leading by a lot and because I'm letting their convention go through. And I am campaigning a lot. I'm doing tremendous amounts of taping here. We have commercials that are at a level I don't think that anybody's ever done before. Plus, in certain cases, I see many of you in the room where I'm speaking to you on phones, I'm speaking to radio, I'm speaking to television. Television's coming over here. Excuse me, what are we doing right now? She's not doing any news conference. You know why she's not doing it? Because she can't do a news conference. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference.
Roasted. That's, if you want to win, that's it right there. I mean, that is genuinely far better than what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And then he goes on to agree to the ABC News debate Kamala proposed, and then an NBC and a Fox News debate. And we're going to talk about that strategy along with a huge other mess up next with Victor David Hanson, followed by Rebecca Downs on some of the squad stuff, and then some awful tweets with Jerry Lopez. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC and the Daily Signal.
We see it every day online, tragedy of some sort, and our kids see it too. This message is brought to you by the Indiana Youth Institute. Now more than ever, our youth need our support, even if they don't experience an event firsthand. Talking about what is going on can help them understand and feel safe. When talking to our youth about tragedy, use gentle words, offer comfort, and encourage them to share their worries. And remember, our youth could be experiencing fear, shock, anger, anxiety, and grief. These reactions are all normal, and their age will likely affect how they handle the stress. Be patient with support as your child grieves. However, if the child continues to display strong reaction for more than 2 to 4 weeks, they might need more help coping. This Kids Count Minute is a message from the Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, go to IYI.org/kids.
Kids count on you.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and I'm a big fan of Zero-Res because of their platinum cleaning systems for carpets and ductwork. Do something about that air quality in your home that filter changing just won't fix. Let Zero-Res clean the ductwork with their state-of-the-art H2 HyperVac system and let them finish the job with the best carpet cleaning you'll ever find. Those Zero-Res systems will safely and effectively remove all the deeply embedded dirt, dander, and nasty bacteria in your carpets and floors and ducts. Not only does the patented Zero-Res process clean better than anything on the market, surfaces dry faster and your home and business will stay cleaner longer. The patented ZR water uses no soap, leaves no residue, and there are no harsh chemicals because they just aren't needed to get things really clean. Say goodbye to the indoor uglies in your ducts and floors. Now mention WIBC, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $119, plus you'll get 20% off their ductwork cleaning systems too. 317-388-5141. Book online at zeroresindy.com.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Turn your book idea into publishing gold.
800-215-6818. 800-215-6818. That's 800-215-6818.
Folks ask, Salty Pete, what's the best part of being a pirate? Hello? It's all the buried treasure.
I've been following this here treasure map all day. Time to dig. Oh, I went through a lesson, no trolley with... Arr!
You just hit a power line.
Contact Indiana 811 at least 2 working days before picking up a shovel. It's the only way to dig. Learn more at 811.safedigindiana.com.
Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and aired by this station.
Aren't you worried Max might run off? He's safe. We installed invisible fence. See a special collar? So he can roam freely but won't leave the yard? Exactly. And it was so easy. Invisible fence installed everything and even sent out an expert to train Max. I need invisible fence for Roxy.
Go to invisiblefence.com to get started today, absolutely risk-free. Give your pet freedom and safety. Go to invisiblefence.com right now and schedule your free consultation. Go to invisiblefence.com. That's invisiblefence.com.
Join the Hammer and Nigel Show for Beer Sample Friday live this Friday at the Indiana State Fair Tap Room. Beginning at 3 p.m., sample Indiana brews and cocktails. Then enjoy freestyle motocross with the 406 FMX High Air Show in the Hoosier Lottery Grandstand.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for advice and fun, brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Housing discrimination because of race, color, or national origin is against the law. If you believe you've experienced housing discrimination, contact HUD at hud.gov/fairhousing.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on syndicated signal. I'm pleased to be joined by the one and only Victor Davis Hanson, senior fellow at the Hoover Institute, brilliant military U.S. historian. The guy's just a mastermind. And, that's one step up above just well-read, literate genius, because a mastermind actually sees the causes and the effects of what's going on. And right now, in this political maelstrom, this hurricane of 2024, there's a lot of people guessing what needs to be done for both campaigns. And there's something that really should be pointed out, and that is the gift of Tim Walz. Mr. Hanson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you made this post yesterday, and it threw what I was planning to talk to you about kind of out the window, because this is not only more present and more prescient, but it's downright essential to go over. Harris picks Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. And you say this is a huge gift to the Trump administration, the Trump campaign, with a little bit of an asterisk, if he uses it. Why do you qualify it in that way?
Because this is a very strange election. We had that stress test debate that the left put Joe Biden up to. And we've never had that before either likely nominee had been reified, and we hadn't. Neither convention had been staged yet, and yet we had this debate, which was obviously to see if Joe Biden would continue. And when he didn't, that set in a whole series of kind of Orwellian coups, if you will. Suddenly, he was decrepit. Everybody had sworn he was fit as a fiddle. 24 hours later, he was decrepit because he was tanking in the polls, maybe 8 points down. And then all of a sudden, he had made the argument, indeed the left had made the argument, that he couldn't step down even if he was decrepit because Kamala Harris was inept. And then suddenly she was remanufactured as brilliant. And she was then coronated, wiping out 15 million votes in the primary. So it was all a confused tumult. And out of that tumult, she emerged as young, brilliant, at least the media. And she adopted the same methodology that Biden had found successful in 2020. She's going to stay in the basement. She cannot speak extemporaneously like Biden could not. They're going to rely on 70% of the voters in the swing states not showing up on election day. but earlier mail-in balloting. She will pose as a moderate and be rebranded the way Biden, good old Joe from Scranton. And the result of all that was Donald Trump's team was not equipped. They were kind of coasting. They were at ease. And they thought, given the left had said that she was inept, that she was inept. So they didn't realize that there was this huge relief that Biden was no longer there, and the money then flipped back in, $300 million. And at that moment, it was very important for Donald Trump to focus on who this person was, despite the effort to hide her and not let her out. She's a hardcore leftist, and there's plenty of evidence in what she says and what she's done in California in the Senate, the most left-wing senator, according to GovTrack. And for some reason, it was brave to go into the African-American journalist, but not to get into the DNA of Kamala Harris. Or it was good to go to Georgia, and there were things that were problematic about Georgia, but Governor Kemp has endorsed Trump, even though he'd been criticized. So it didn't make any sense to criticize Kemp when this candidate, you only have 90 days. It's not like a normal race where you have a year and a half. So you have to, that every moment is ticking off.
Absolutely.
And then, so it looked like Trump was going to be in big trouble because Josh Shapiro was polling anywhere from 55 to 60% approval, 19 electoral votes. The election may be decided by the voters in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And everybody thought that Josh Shapiro was young, he was dynamic, he was posing as a moderate far more successfully than Biden or Harris was.
I mean, at least you had Bashir, or you had, Kelly, the astronaut from
Yes.
Arizona. Like, Walz is like down at the very bottom. Like, that's just,
Yes,
we're considering him just to be nice to say that we considered the young progressives.
Yeah. Yes. So when she picked Walz, there was no traditional, no unusual, no eccentric reason why he would be picked. Minnesota's going to go blue. He doesn't bring the Electoral College to that. He's not well known. 70% of the people have no idea who he is. He was not vetted. And so almost immediately it took all the attention off what Trump had said, or his campaign was plateauing, and it put it on both his hard left record, basically green lighting for 4 days, rioting in Minnesota, the tampons for boys' restrooms, open borders, illegal alien subsidies, canceling pipeline. I mean, it was more extreme than hers. And then personally, all these things started to come out. He kind of asked for it. His first introduction to the American people, he mentioned the completely refuted lie and smear about the couch. And he said, couch. And then he turned to Kamala Harris and he said, how'd you like that? Well, she kind of even, how do you like me lying about the vice president? It didn't work. And then, of course, the only person who was really in a position to question his military record was somebody who went to Iraq and in the Marines. So then that elevated J.D. Vance. He said, they'll go after Trump and say he wasn't in the military, or maybe they would have gone after Rubin, but they won't go after me. So then he, in the last 72 hours, has said, this man's record does not add up. When you get called to Iraq, you go, like I did. He didn't go. He lied about his rank. He lied and said that he carried a weapon into war, and they just kept bleeding. And then there were peripheral things. Mm-hmm. Drunk, people get tickets for, 95, 55 in the 35 mile zone, but 95 miles an hour. Come on.
And then telling the cop that you're deaf, that's icing on that particular drunken cake.
Exactly. And then it comes out that his wife has said that she deliberately opened the window so she could smell the scent of burning. And that, as soon as she said that, a lot of people thought, well, who was burning up? Small businesses? Is that what you wanted to smell?
Right.
People's lifetime investment that was lost. And then the daughter comes out that she basically gave inside information to rioters and said, don't worry, the National Guard is not going to be called up tonight, i.e. Dad is not going to do it. So the whole thing is an utter free fall, and that gave Trump an enormous reboot, and it really showed you that the traditional calculus about J.D. Vance was wrong. Everybody said, well, he's a white male like Trump, and he just reverberates the MAGA message, and maybe Ohio was a safe state anyway. But if you start to think about it, he is very quick on his feet, and he's very well-spoken, and he is even better at extempore repartee than he is on the teleprompter. So all of a sudden, he's everywhere, and he's really good at it. He's going up to the press pool and saying, how come you don't want to talk to Kamala Harris? Why don't you want to talk to Walz?
To catch the rest of our interview with Victor Davis Hanson, you'll need to head over to the Daily Signals page on YouTube. We'll be back in just a second. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on the Daily Signal, syndicated first on 93 WIBC.
People are talking about Window Nation. Their Window Nation customer, Vicky, says, we couldn't be happier. This was a great experience. She's just one of over 33,000 five-star reviews. That's because Window Nation is all about the value. And this August, they're giving you great value during the Window Nation anniversary sale. Right now, buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus no interest or payments for 24 months. And if you act now, you'll get an extra $250 credit.
Window Nation values your satisfaction in their quality, service, and affordability. That's why they stand behind their windows with a lifetime warranty. Window Nation was also recently ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installation companies. So you can trust Window Nation for high-quality, affordable windows. Hurry, this big sale ends August 31st. Schedule that in-home estimate right now at 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com.
To celebrate Team USA going for gold, Xfinity is offering a gold medal deal. Now, through August 11th, get our best offer yet with 300 megabit Xfinity internet and 1 line of unlimited mobile for just $35 a month for a year and a free 5G phone. And the action doesn't stop there. Save on some of the biggest names in streaming by adding the new Xfinity Stream Saver with Peacock, Apple TV Plus, and Netflix for just $15 a month. Don't wait. When the Olympic Games end, so does this deal. Go to Xfinity.com/Team USA. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Get the fastest connection to Paris with Xfinity, proud partner of Team USA.
Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Equipment tax and fees extra and subject to change. After promo, regular rates apply to internet and mobile. Stream Saver price subject to change. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Free 5G phone requires eligible trade-in. Select models only.
Tomorrow starts at IU Indianapolis. Our students are the engine of Indiana's future, in powerful partnership with the country's leading businesses and organizations. We prepare each student to make impacts that matter right here at home, inspiring bold endeavors and life-changing careers. Bring on tomorrow, IU Indianapolis. Discover how we're powering what's possible at go.iu.edu/tomorrow.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
After I got out of the Marine Corps, coming back home, it was just a mental breakdown for me. I was on the verge of giving up. That chapter, that season in my life was over. Now what? Who was I? That's what I kept asking myself. The pressure to have it all together, to heal, to quiet down the monsters inside, it was too much. I lost it. I had heard about the Wounded Warrior Project. I had seen the logo and that visual of a warrior carrying another warrior. The programs that the Wounded Warrior Project offers, it's not just the veteran themselves, it's their whole family. It brings it all together. We have scars that we carry, and just because the scars are there doesn't mean that we're any less than what we were. Right now, I'm the best version that I ever have been of myself. I can embrace the brokenness.
You wouldn't go into battle alone. You don't have to fight this alone. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/notalone.
Indy Humane, committed to helping Central Indiana's pets in need since 1905. Find your new best friend today. indyhumane.org.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
It's that time of the week when we bring on Rebecca Downs from townhall.com for the down low on the squad. And we must take our hats off. I don't have a hat on, but we must take a moment of silence, if you will, and mourn the loss of yet another member of the squad in the House. Isn't it just so terrible, Rebecca? Tell us about this latest primary race development.
Sure. So thanks for having me. This week, Tuesday night, Cori Bush of Missouri's 1st District, she lost her primary race. So she is the second squad member to lose her primary race, the first being Jamal Bowman in New York back in late June. But with Cori Bush, so she ended up losing her primary challenger, who's almost certainly going to be the next congressman for the district, Wesley Bell. He's got about 51% of the vote, and she got a little more than 45%. So it's looking like a slimmer margin of victory than it was earlier in the night, but he still, is the clear winner.
This brings us to Cori Bush's statements afterward, which are, well, there's certainly some statements that one could make.
All you did was take some of the strings off. Because see, now I don't have to worry about some strings that I have attached, and as much as I love my job. But all they did was radicalize me, and so now they be afraid. AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
So as you can see, she did two things there. Number one, she talked about how now she's radical. She's radicalized, and she code switches into her most inner city speech pattern, which, just for the record, doesn't match the speech patterns of St. Louis, but, who's keeping track? But number two, then she says she's coming for AIPAC, and she's going to, quote, take their kingdom down. And, what do you make of that, Rebecca? It seems like a very sane thing to say.
Exactly. So that sounds very much like a threat. That's very concerning. AIPAC is a pro-Israel group. They work to get pro-Israel members of Congress, regardless of party, elected. It's one of the few bipartisan issues that are left. But those are very concerning remarks. The squad members, a lot of them have made anti-Semitic or at the very least anti-Israel remarks. We shouldn't be threatening anybody saying, I'm coming for you, I'm coming for your kingdom. When I think of kingdom, I also think of the money they have and how that's kind of an anti-Semitic trope.
I've heard and this is where I'll give her just like a smidgen of grace, because I saw one commentator say, oh, this is the kingdom of Israel. She's like, that's an anti-Semitic dog whistle. I don't think so. I think that she views them like a powerful empire. I think of it as the
kingdom of Israel. I thought of it as a kingdom of money and wealth. And
I thought, she's saying that they're like this corrupt, untouchable empire in their lofty seats kind of a thing, which is just crazy. It doesn't come across as anti-Semitic as much to me as she's just a loon.
If she were a Republican, there would be, because Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about this, and she said, I didn't see it. Of course she didn't, see it. I have no
selective seeing. And of course
it was unhelpful.
Oh, well.
At the very least.
Obviously what was more helpful was this particular clip when she, being Cori Bush, said this wild series of things about her relationship with people on the street.
Came to us and she had these tumors, and I just remember I put my hand on her, and my hand just began to move, and the lumps that were there were no longer there, and she was so happy, and she went on about her day, and I never saw her again.
So you think the tumors disappeared?
I do.
Cori Bush, interesting character, right? Very interesting. Right. Some very radical things that she said. Everything is about oppression and racism, unless she's, doing the oppressing and the racisming. So that brings us to a statement that you sent me. And there's always a good amount of copium after the primaries and the elections. You got to come up with excuses. You sent me something from Delia Ramirez. Delia Ramirez is the lifelong Chicagoan. She is the representative for Illinois' 3rd. She is special. And she had 2 statements sent over my way that I couldn't believe that these actually came from her fingers. Go ahead, hit us up with that.
So this is what Ramirez posted. Cori Bush is one of the strongest and most faithful advocates working people have in Congress. Her loss last night is a loss for everyone committed to the cause of justice, peace, and government accountable to the people, not special interests. She also said,
keep going. I mean, is this not moving you? Come on, Rebecca.
Is this not... and the copium
justice.
Sounds like an obituary. An obituary.
Keep going. She's got another one. It's even better.
Oh, yeah. This is a doozy. This bothered me. Do not be deceived by the narratives that will be spun. What happened is clear for all to see. We must all be weary of the corrupting influence of big money in our politics. It is the single greatest threat to democracy. She actually posted that. It is the single greatest threat to democracy.
If I'm thinking about Cori's campaign, if I'm thinking about her campaign finance summary, certainly how much she's made millions, right? She currently has, according to Open Secrets, about $573,000 extra on hand for this particular instance, just in this last couple of months alone. This is from the leadership PAC, Politivist LPAC. She's raked in quite a bit of bank. And yet, according to, her friend Ramirez, it's actually big money that's the problem. Oh, big money. I'm always confused about the double standard. Why is it okay for the squad to take oodles, canoodles, and toaster strudels of money? And that's totally fine. That's not a conspiracy. But then, oh no, the NRA or APAC or someone gets involved and then it's secret dark money. Ooh.
So I think at the very least, it's a sense of victim status, right? It's a sense of victim status. If we are talking about pro-Israel PACs and pro-Israel versus anti-Israel candidates, I do think you could, at the very least, even if we want to give these people grace, the benefit of the doubt, say it's inadvertent, I do think there is a touch of anti-Semitism there, because there is a trope about Jews have money and Jews run the world and they control things. Jamal Bowman, the congressman, soon to be former congressman we just spoke about, he got into trouble for talking about AIPAC controls all of Congress. They control everything. That, even if you don't mean it, there are people who take that a certain way.
And again, I do want to put this out because I have yet another lovely bit of data here that they always say, they're controlling Congress. Oh, the Jews, they're controlling Congress. And when you ask how, they say, they put a lot of money into Congress. Oh, okay. So let's actually take a look at the money. And what I've observed, again, according to the data, is that Cori, who was serving as the U.S. rep from St. Louis since 2021, is currently estimated to have a net worth between $5 and $10 million as of 2024. So I'm
you wouldn't know that from how she carries herself.
No, so I'm confused. When is the big money? And is there a candidate who's like anti-Israel and then AIPAC drops like $5 million on them and all of a sudden they're pro-Israel? Or is the NRA and AIPAC and yes, even the teachers unions, are they looking for candidates who echo their issues, things that they care about?
Exactly.
And then they're putting money on the candidates that they care for. It's victimhood status and super duper ultra money puppetry conspiracy theory stuff. They go hand in hand.
PACs exist.
I mean, we're talking like relationship for life, boyfriend, girlfriend, hand in hand.
Bet. PACs exist in our political society. I'm sorry, people have to get over that. And one thing, what really grinds my gears about the single greatest threat to democracy, and AOC used similar language with Jamal Bowman's race. This doesn't necessarily have to do with anti-Semitism, but Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, they both won their seats. I believe they were both in 2020 by unseating a Democratic incumbent.
Right.
So they were unseated. That's another form of just sheer hypocrisy, because that's how primaries work. The people of your district decide they want somebody else in Congress to represent them. That's not a threat to democracy. That is democracy.
And by the way, there is a level of gaslighting that comes into play. And I know you and I have talked about this before, that you see Kamala doing the same thing right now, right? She says, oh, people can't afford groceries right now, and inflation is bad. My first day in office, I'm going to...
She's
and
already
everyone
been
looks
in
around.
office.
You're in office right now. Cori's out there saying, oh boy, I tell you what, I wasn't before, I am now. Ma'am, you're in Congress right now. What are you doing? And when they're unseating Democrats and they're like, here's what we need. Like, your party's in power. What are you talking about? And, we've been saying for ages that, this dog wasn't going to hunt. And here is yet another example. So that's 2 down, Rebecca.
Yeah. Be on the lookout.
Down.
Ilhan Omar, she has her primary in a few weeks, and Stop Anti-Semitism. They look to promote pro-Israel candidates. They've pointed out at length Republicans and independents can vote in that primary as well.
And that's what I'm seeing a lot of call for individuals in that open primary to vote against Ilhan Omar. And we're seeing a very, very distinctive race unfolding. And we'll bring you back to talk about it. And hopefully we can
looking forward
crank
to it.
that number up to 3. Rebecca Downs, townhall.com. Thanks for giving us the down low on the latest nonsense from the squad.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on the Daily Signal, syndicated first on 93 WIBC.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
According to a 2023 Gallup poll, 71% of non-retired adults are worried about retirement saving. At Howard Bailey Financial, we don't believe retiring with confidence should be guesswork. In fact, our mission is to help you gain clarity and purpose and elevate meaning in your life through personal and practical financial strategies. That's why we provide our Retire with Purpose toolkit at no cost. In it, you'll find valuable information on minimizing taxes, maximizing Social Security, and building a retirement income you won't outlive. To receive your complimentary toolkit, text CLARITY to 866-482-9559. Take a step toward a more confident retirement with Howard Bailey Financial and text CLARITY to 866-482-9559.
This endorsement was not provided by a client of Howard Bailey. This individual was compensated for this endorsement. For more information, visit howardbailey.com/TS1.
The search for the temporary fix. It's led you back there again, in the pharmacy aisle, looking for the new and improved pill or spray that will clear up your stuffy nose. And you'll give it a try because at least it helps you breathe, right? Yeah, it does. And it may work, but it's hurting you more than it's helping. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula with Advent, where we've pioneered simple solutions to nasal breathing problems without the pain and inconvenience of surgery. In-office procedures like balloon sinuplasty require 0 surgical cuts, little to no downtime, and can have you breathing better in less than 30 minutes. There are few, if any, practices that have been performing the balloon sinuplasty procedure longer than Advent. That's why we're a global destination for those living with nasal breathing problems. Visit AdventKnows.com to see if you're a candidate for balloon sinuplasty, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with 0 experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
The Phone Ready Quiz from the American Academy of Pediatrics will help you decide if you and your child are ready for their first phone. Go to healthychildren.org/phone ready quiz.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Awful tweets, the ones that no one ever deletes. Awful tweets on the Tony Kinnett Show.
On 93 WIPC.
Hey, welcome back to Awful Tweets with Jerry Lopez, the segment that is just super duper chaotic. Jerry, how is it going, man?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
I'm doing stellar. Why don't you explain to the fine people how this segment works?
So Awful Tweets we do every Thursday, and it's just a review of any tweets or Instagram posts, any Facebook posts, anything that you see on social media that just is so ridiculous that this person deserves a little bit of credit, and we give them that credit for their beautiful tweet for us, but their awful tweet that they posted for themselves.
That's right. You can send those over to us, and we'll slot them up. They don't have to be from Twitter. We've got one tonight from TikTok, of all places, God forbid. So this first one is from Monica Hess. She's from the Washington Post. She says, since Tampon Tim is trending, I'll point out that in high school, any boy who was casually like, oh, you got your period? I stashed a pad from the bathroom in my backpack in case one of my friends needed it. That boy would be king stud. That boy would be drowning in prom invites. What?
That boy would tell you his pronouns. Listen, I have a son, and this is not, here's the truth. There's a lot of things in life that men focus on, and women is one of them. If stashing a bag of tampons would get you girls, we would have had them a long time ago. She has no clue what she's talking about.
Also, I'm sorry, but girls, students who are already embarrassed about this probably don't want guys going, hey, anybody need a tampon? Okay. Well, moving right along to other guys who don't necessarily understand what it means to be a guy, Pete Buttigieg said, come to think of it, denigrating the worth of a soldier's service based on whether he deployed to a war zone is kind of like denigrating the worth of a woman's citizenship based on whether she happens to have children. Holy straw man, Batman.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I need Mayor Pete to first of all define what a woman is before he does any of his arguments. Tell me what a woman is so I can come on equal playing ground. But here's the thing. Pete lives out a very important thing here. So this is about Governor Walz, who had up that he was Command Sergeant Major in the National Guard and served in Operation Enduring Freedom, which is only Afghanistan. Operation Iraqi Freedom is for the rest of us that went to Iraq. This dude was in Italy, all right? And nobody says they got deployed to Italy. We would all say, I was stationed in Italy, right?
So he gets all dragged, and Pete swings in and says this is like J.D. Vance saying that families are good. Not necessarily the best one. No, I don't think that Pete has really got more than a few marbles rolling around. God bless him. Well, we'll bring on the doctor then. He says, I'm a pediatrician. One campaign and political party thinks that kids should be hungry, uneducated, stripped of health care, subjected to the abuse of parents, stripped of human rights, and told to, quote, shut the hell up, end quote. He's like trying to quote J.D. Vance there. Do you think that that's a doctor that has got his stuff straight, my dude?
Listen, as a pediatrician, he should have came out and been the first one to say, I'd like to see where he stood on giving kids the COVID shot. If he was anti-giving kids the COVID vaccine, then maybe I will trust him. But something tells me that he wasn't in that category.
Yeah, I don't think that that was perhaps the best. All right, this next one is pretty fantastic, I must say so myself. This is from the government of the United Kingdom here. So they said very, very clearly that you need to be super careful about what you post on social media. Because if you say the wrong things, like if you say that illegal immigration is bad, or that Islamic radical Shia communities, shouldn't hurt children, then they'll come and arrest you, which they did today, by the way. So they say, think before you post. Aren't you glad you live in America?
Man, this is. Look, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. This is what makes America fantastic. All right, they are actually arresting people for social media posts. Think about it. This is not Cuba or Iran. This is in the UK.
It's beyond wild. All right, we're coming up near the end here, and this next one is from Lauren Chen. She said that Israel right now is like some drunk chick at a bar, mouthing off to a biker with a face tattoo, Iran, because she knows her low IQ gym bro, boyfriend, America, will swoop in to defend her. What?
Yeah, if Israel's a drunk chick at the bar, she's Ronda Rousey, and if Iran is the person with the tattoo on his face, he's like the dentist from Hangover. If we let Israel do what they wanted to do, this would have been over in two minutes, dude. We are the reason that they're being held back, and honestly, for moral reasons, they're not going as hard as they probably could.
No, it's just wild. All right, we've only got about time for one more. And we'll have to save a few of these for next week because they're just beautiful. So this last one here I want to share with you is from CBS News. They say the Trump campaign's criticizing Governor Tim Walz for supplying free tampons in schools. But advocates say it's essential for many students. Jerry, you're a guy. Did you ever need a tampon when you were in the bathroom?
I never needed a tampon, but I also knew it wouldn't help me get chicks. If I would have known that, I would have had tampons with me all the time.
Jerry, thank you very much for joining us. That is Awful Tweets. We'll be back tomorrow with another great mess and some mail time. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast on The Daily Signal and 93 WIBC. Take care.